Okay, so for the first thing we want to do when we're factoring is look for a common factor. In this case here, we don't have any common factor other than 1, so we're not actually going to take that out. It's not necessary. So now that we looked for a common factor, the next step is taking a look at how many terms we have. In this case, we can see that we have 3 terms, which falls into the category of either a perfect square trinomial or using factoring by ACB. I can see this right away and know that the root of 15 cannot be done without getting a decimal. So I know that this is not a perfect square trinomial. I won't even bother doing the check. So I'm going to start with my A times C method. And my A is 6. A is a number, remember, that's in front of the x squared, or in this case, the a squared. My C is negative 15. So when I multiply those two things together, it's negative 90. Now we're going to write our B value, which is the number right in front of this A, which is negative 1. So we need to find a number that multiplies to 90 and adds up to negative 1. So I like the method of starting at 1. 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30. I'm not sure there's a 4. We're just going to check it by doing 90 divided by 4. Now 90 divided by 4 is a decimal, so I'm not going to use that. 90 divided by 5 is 18, so 5 times 18. 90 divided by 6 works as well, 6 times 15. Pretty sure 90 divided by 7 doesn't work. Pretty sure 90 divided by 8 doesn't work. And finally we get to 9 times 10. So you want to list all the factors here, just in case there's non-factorable. You want to make sure that you list them all so that it can give you your full marks. So I take a quick glance at this and try to see which ones I can play around with to get negative 1. So I'm taking a look, and it looks like 9 and 10 is going to work, but I would have to do 9 minus 10 in order to get negative 1. So if I add a negative here with the 10, 9 times negative 10 gives me negative 90, and 9 minus 10 gives me negative 1. So that part you should be fairly comfortable with. This next part that I think students are struggling with. So what you need to do now is actually decompose the middle term. So our middle term in this case is negative a. And I'm just going to put it in red so you can see it. So if I decompose negative a, I want the answer to still be negative 1a. So we have two numbers here, which are 9 and negative 10, which does give me negative 1. So it's just a different way of writing negative 1a. So I'm going to write plus 9a and negative 10a. But at the same time, you just don't want to forget to rewrite your 6a squared and your minus 15 at the end. So all I did was I decomposed the middle term, which was negative 1a, and I decomposed it into two numbers by using the ACB method. So now we're not quite done yet. We're just going to go ahead and start the method of decomposition, or step 2, which is finding the common factor for the first two terms and finding the common factor for the last two terms. Don't forget your equal signs in here to show that this line here is equal to the line above. So if I go ahead and find the common factor for the first two terms, it's 3a. So if I take out the 3a, I put the common factor in the front, then you can do this either two ways. You can say 6 divided by 3, which is 2, but 3a times 2 won't give me 6a squared. You have to add an a here. 3a times 2a will give me 6a squared. Now, 9a divided by 3a is positive 3, okay? And here, 3a times positive 3 is 9a. So I know that this works. I can close the bracket and be confident that I can move on to the next step. Now, because there's two negatives in here, I'm going to go ahead and take out a common factor of negative 10. I don't take out negative 10a because there's no a on the 15. So I'm going to put a negative 10 here as the common factor. And because I took out negative 10, there's only an a left over here. Common factor of 10 is actually not going to work. Just realize that you can't divide 15 by 10. So as you can see, we can all make mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and take out a common factor that is lower than 10, which is 5. And negative 5 will be divided, or be able to be divided into negative 10 and negative 15. So let's take out that negative 5 and do it properly this time. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2, and we just have to put the a there to satisfy this 10a. And then negative 5 times positive 3 will give me negative 15. Or in the same token, like I said, you can do negative 15 divided by negative 5, if that helps. Just don't forget about the a's and all that. So I know I've done this correctly because these two brackets match exactly. They are identical. So if they're not identical, you may have to take out a different common factor. Usually the trick, if you take out a negative one and that didn't give you the same exact bracket, just take out the positive one. So we took out those two brackets, the common factor of 2a plus 3, and there's 3a minus 5 left over. And that is the final answer. You can do a check if you have time. And the check, you're just going to do the reverse of what you did, which is FOIL. So let's go ahead and do FOIL. 2a times 3a is 6a squared. 2a times negative 5, is negative 10a. 3 times 3a is positive 9a. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. We're just going to simplify this. So negative 10 plus 9a is negative 1a. And we end up getting the same expression, the same trinomial as we got at the very, very start. So we know that we've done this work correctly. So if you've watched through the whole video already, you should be redoing this until you know that you've got it completely right without missing any steps and without having to look at what I just did.